This podcast is sponsored in part by a proud supporter of Monarch Schools and Make-A-Wish San Diego. Monarch School educates students impacted by homelessness and helps them develop hope for a future with the necessary skills and experience for personal success. Make-A-Wish San Diego grants wishes to children with life-threatening medical conditions to enrich the human experience with hope, strength, and joy. To learn more about how you can get involved, please visit monarchschools.org and sandiego.wish.org.
With these disagreements, we're like, well, how do we resolve this? 2/3 of the company wants to go one direction, and 1/3 of the company wants to go another direction. And then it got into, is this unanimous decisions only, or is this majority rules? And based off of just some dumb business stuff, and things started getting nasty.
Welcome to I Made It in San Diego, Voice of San Diego's podcast about the stories behind the region's businesses, the big and the small, and the people who made them what they are. I'm Kinsey Moreland, and in this week's show, a story about how a family business grew, fell apart, and managed to pull it together again. San Diegans who shop at farmers markets probably know Ryan Smith. He's the guy with the bright red hair and over-the-top enthusiasm who, years ago, spent a lot of time at most of the local farmers markets, eagerly hawking his healthy vegan dips.
And I got the Chipotle chili. It's smoky, smoldering, spicy, like me.
Back then, it was called Bitchin Sauce, and lots of San Diegans, including me, were convinced by Ryan at these markets to at least try the dips. And lots of people, again, me included, would then end up buying the sauce because, oh my goodness, it is good. It's pretty healthy too. And Ryan's a likable guy who would enthusiastically tell everyone to have a bitchin' day. So sometimes people would buy this stuff just because of his charm. Ryan's whole family was involved in Bitchin Sauce, which quickly grew from a side project into a multi-million-dollar business based in Carlsbad. But in 2015, an intense family feud left just one family member with the business and the keys to the Carlsbad factory, while the rest had to figure out what to do next. The new business the rest of the family has built since that grueling split is called Good Lovin' Foods, the cornerstone of which is a trio of healthy vegan sauces the family claims are better than the last. Ryan says both businesses would never have been born had it not been for his mom, a vegetarian hippie who introduced the kids to many of the healthy, unique ingredients used in both of the sauces to this day.
So before health food was even a mainstream thing, she was on the front wave of it. So I call us, when we grew up, we were kind of like redneck hippies because we embraced very hippie things like the foods and the, it's everything that was natural type stuff.
So what? Name some of those foods.
Oh, shoot. I grew up on tofu. I mean, that's what I grew up on before. I guess now in the natural world, tofu is no good anymore. But I ate so much tofu. We were vegetarian growing up for 10 years. And what's funny is my dad's the opposite of my mom. My dad's barbecue, smoked meats.
All the meats.
So when mom's gone, that's what we would drink. That's why I call it a mixture of hippie redneck, because my dad's more redneck. But,
so you were eating nutritional yeast on your smoked brisket.
That might not be that bad. No, so my mom was, all nooch and brags, and my dad was, smoked meats and stuff. So whenever she would leave, we'd, indulge with my dad.
Nooch, is that what the kids call nutritional yeast these days?
Nooch, hippie dust. There's all sorts of fun names for it.
So what about the animal convictions, though? How much of a part did that play in your...
The animal stuff?
Yeah, like loving it, not wanting to kill animals or use
Oh
their
my
products.
gosh, you're talking to now the redneck side of me.
Okay.
So, I'm like in the inhumane side of the animal things I don't agree with, but in terms of like a fisherman into hunting, all these things, I mean, that's totally me.
But if you were a Venn diagram, then it would be like hippie one circle and redneck the other, and you're that rare like 1% of people who fit in the intersection of those two things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm right in there.
After Ryan graduated high school, he moved to Santa Barbara to become a nanny, or a manny as he calls it. His sister Starr moved to Santa Barbara to live with him too. They both were experimenting with veganism at the time, but for Ryan it wasn't going so well. He found himself gravitating toward the richest, fattiest vegan foods he could find, and he couldn't seem to think about anything but food. It was around that time that Ryan and Starr first started making what would eventually become Bitchin Sauce, a hummus-like dip or spread, but with ground-up almonds instead of garbanzo beans as its main ingredient. Every one of their friends who tasted the dip would tell them how amazingly good it was, which made them start thinking they might be able to start some kind of food-related business. Both Ryan and Starr moved back to Carlsbad, and the whole family actually lived in one big house at the time. 4 adult siblings and their parents, and they always had a lot of friends hanging around for dinner every night. No one had a lot of money, so dinners often ended up being a mixture of an early version of Bitchin Sauce, on top rice, beans, avocados, and whatever other vegetables they had around the house. Tell me about the first time you stood around a kitchen and made what would eventually become Bitchin Sauce. Was there one time where you were like, yes, this is it, or was it an evolution?
There was an evolution around it. Like originally, even before we moved to Santa Barbara, I know my mom started doing some stuff with those ingredients, like almonds and nutritional yeast and lemon juice and, kind of like an almond hummusy type thing. And it was okay. It wasn't what, we then perfected, but it was all right. And then moving on from that point, I don't know if it was just like an aha moment. It just started getting good. It had this really delicious, earthy, umami flavor, kind of a flavor that not many people have experienced. That's why it was so kind of like impactful It's like, wow, this is the only way to describe what I'm tasting here. It is bitchin'. And it was like a whole new flavor for people that had this addictive quality where it's like people wanted to come back for more and more and more and fit a lot of diets. And so I don't know if there was like an aha moment where it was like, oh my gosh, we nailed it. We had friends say, man, you should sell this. Like there was one person in particular who was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Like you really should sell this. And that got the wheels turning a little bit to at least try to price it out and see what it would take. But it really got better as we kept making it and perfected it over like a 7-year period to the point that brings us to the point where we actually decided to take it to market and do something with that.
When did the idea to really go for it as a business idea?
Okay, so to go for it as a business idea, it had always been in my mind since I'd been perfecting this recipe to like, you know what, I think I could do something with this and it would go. Like I said, I had priced it out even before we started anything. And I just had a feeling like it's just one of these ideas where you're like, this could work, but jumping from point A to point B was a hurdle in my mind. I didn't know how to do that, especially having no money, So that was, my main excuse. My sister, she worked for a personal chef, and she kind of saw how that personal chef business worked. She liked the hours. She was just an assistant, but she was like, you know what? We can do this. We could start a personal chef company. It's easy enough. You don't have to have like any sort of crazy credentials. It's just, you start and, get a website and build a business. So she had an idea to do that. She came to me and wanted to partner with me on building that personal chef company. So I was all about it. So I'm like, sure, that sounds great. And we were like, well, how are we going to even be known? How is anybody going to find out about us? And so that's when the idea came up. Well, let's just go to farmer's market and bring some of the stuff that we make and try to get in front of people that way and promote that service. And
so what year was this about?
This was 2000. I think it was 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. And we did. It was just a way to like market our stuff really inexpensively, and it's just a great way to test things out. The farmers markets, to go to market and do a test to see does anybody like our stuff?
And so what happened at these markets? Were people just losing their mind over this product?
The first market was, I think we were in San Marcos, really small farmers market. And it was a whole new experience for us. We hand painted all our signs. We did all this stuff, just kind of janky, just to get out there and get something out there, as cheap as possible. And my sister baked tons of vegan baked goods and, gluten-free stuff. And it took her forever. It took her all night to make this stuff. It was the biggest pain in the butt ever. And, I whipped up the first batches of what we called Bitchin Sauce, and it took no time because...
What did you need at that point? Just a blender?
Yeah, just a blender.
All right.
Just a blender and the ingredients. And so I whipped up the first batches, and we had 8 jars. And...
no label?
We did print out a label for the first, while we were at farmers markets for the first, 6 months, we used to cut out all our own labels.
Oh, God.
It was,
and so you were already calling it
worse.
Bitchin Sauce at this point.
At that time, we came up with a name. We came up with a label. It was Bitchin Sauce under the
personal chef business
brand,
name.
Yeah, which was called the Pie Smith is what we called it.
The Pie Smith.
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
so how did you settle on that name? Was that a controversial thing,
No, that was super easy. My mom thought it was controversial, but she's like, you guys are shooting yourselves in the foot for naming it this. But
yeah, it can be offensive to some people, right?
Yeah, but we wanted to go for something that really, we wanted to go for something Southern California that was going to grab somebody's attention, and that side of marketing, I really think through what would make me try something? What would I be into trying?
Bitchin Sauce.
Bitchin Sauce. If somebody said that would kind of be a pow in my face, wow, Southern California, and then it matches the flavor. So it starts building this whole experience around the product where you're like, wow, this is bitchin'.
Yeah.
And it definitely, offends people who don't understand the term, but
it means awesome, supremely great,
yeah,
right?
That's excellent, remarkably wonderful. So
you've explained the definition before once or twice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've had to explain my way out of a lot of things with that.
Okay, so you're at the San Marcos Farmers Market. You've got all the stuff your sister baked, the sauces with the hand cut labels that you made, and what happens? So
we sold a few.
Okay.
The response was really good from the customers who did try it. I mean, San Marcos is crickets as far as a farmer's market goes. That's why we were able to get in, because nobody's there. So we sold a few. My sister's mother-in-law bought the rest of them from us.
That's sweet.
Just to be nice. And supportive. But at that point, it was after selling a few, it was well, we sold a few. If we get in front of more people, we're going to sell more. This is super easy to manufacture. Let's switch up our business model here. And instead of doing baked goods, all this stuff, for our marketing, for the personal chef service at the farmers markets, let's just do the dips, and leave the other stuff to the side. We'll still promote the personal chef thing, but this is actually sustainable.
Yeah, and suck them in with the sauce maybe, and then start talking personal chef, upselling, right?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And that's when the Bitchin Sauce brand started, is we got into bigger market in Leucadia, and I think our first one we sold, I forget how many units we sold. We sold maybe 40 units, which was decent for, just starting. And then we started duplicating those markets, the amounts that we were in, to where we got into, we were doing like 25 a week at one point in San Diego County.
Wow.
Yeah.
The healthy vegan ingredients and addictive flavor are just part of the secret. The other things that helped drive success was Ryan's over-the-top positive vibes he put out while slinging the sauce at farmers markets. His friendly persona helped the business take off. And right from the get-go, I don't know, you might be offended if I call it a schtick, but I have memories.
Schtick? What?
I have memories of you. I distinctly have a memory of you
Killing it?
Being overly enthusiastic and bubbly, and just like you could not walk by your booth without having to stop and see what this guy was so damn excited about. You were so excited. I think your face was on the label.
My face was all over that label.
And, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like, you have red hair, but your red hair, you just stood out as this person who was so excited about this thing.
The bitchin' guy.
The bitchin' guy. And of course you saying have a bitchin' day.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So were you doing that right from the very beginning, or did that evolve over time?
No, that evolved. So in the beginning, the bravest we were was at first I think we were just saying, come try our delicious sauce.
Okay.
And then it was like, hey, come try some Bitchin Sauce. And we just saw how people reacted to it, where they were like, it started turning more heads when we'd say Bitchin Sauce. We're like, okay, well, let's keep saying that. And my sister did some of the initial farmers markets, but she had kids at the time. I was single. I didn't have any kids. So we kind of split up, and it was like, okay, Ryan, you do the farmers markets and run those, and she'll do the other aspects of the business, like manufacturing and design and stuff like that.
So early on, you and your sister set some goals.
Yeah.
What were those goals?
Those goals, the first year was we wanted to, I don't know how many farmers markets we were in, but the personal goals was we each wanted to make like $4,000 a month from our company.
That's decent.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And that answered a lot of other things that were personal goals. Like for me, getting out of debt, being able to support myself, wanting to be married, so being able to support a wife, family, all those different things, Mm-hmm. Same parallels with my sister too. And so that was our end of the year, first year goals, and we hit those really quickly. I think it was like 3 or 4 months that we reached that goal.
Did that surprise you? Or did it just reaffirm that gut feeling that you had always had?
It just reaffirmed the gut feeling. Once we started, the picture started filling in with color and started becoming more clear as like, here's the path that we can take, and here's we really can go big. Those limiting things that were limiting me were not limiting me anymore. It was like, I can see that this meets a need for people, and we're able to impact people in more so than just a product. And that comes into that whole bitchin' lifestyle that I was living, that developing. I saw how that impacted people.
Sure. But I don't think, and I wonder if you know the answer to this, but I don't know if I bought that first container of Bitchin Sauce because I really liked the product or because I liked you. Mm-hmm. And so that's what you're talking about, those positive vibes mm-hmm. that you just
so there's
flood onto people.
There's the other aspect of it where I had people come and purchase the product, not because the product was so great, but because of how we made them feel. Because my whole goal, and still carries on past that company, is to really serve and love people unselfishly. I'm not doing it for myself. It's not what can I get from you. It's not how many sales can I make. It's how can I serve you with what I have. I have a delicious dip. I have a personality that can brighten your day, and I have humor. There was a lot of humor in what we were doing, like just ridiculous, corny, dumb humor that people loved.
After the farmers markets, Ryan and his sister set their sights on getting Bitchin Sauce into stores. The first spot to say yes was Cream of the Crop in Oceanside. After that, it was Seaside Market in Cardiff, then Jimbo's and other big chains. More and more stores started saying yes to carrying the product, and eventually Bitchin Sauce was in Whole Foods and then Costco. By this time, the whole family was involved in the business, which was scaling up fast. So did you have any really big hiccups during that scaling process? Did you learn any big lessons during that time, or was it like relatively easy process for you? Just sort of a natural organic growth of the product?
It definitely was a natural organic growth. It was just my family at that time. My parents worked for the company. My younger brother worked for the company. We brought my older brother on as a owner of the company, 1/3 owner at that time as well. It was just a whole big family thing that we were doing.
And did you have to make any big sacrifices to build the business early on?
Oh, it's been tons of sacrifices. If it's called you can call it bootstrapping or whatever, but we lived in a house that we called it the shanty mansion because it wasn't a nice house, but it was kind of big and we could all live there. So, there was a fridge in our living room. We named Magda. She was really loud. And there was tons of sacrifices being made to grow the company, like many, many long days. And it was like do whatever it takes type thing to get there. There were weeks where we didn't get paid and, all that stuff. Depending on how the business was doing. If it rained and farmers markets closed,
no money.
No money.
Speaking of money, did you take any investments?
No, we didn't. We started Bitchin Sauce with $200.
Who's $200?
Oh, guess we did take some money. Yeah. So I think our cousins gave Starr $200. Star's my sister to start it, and that's what we used. Wow. And then we paid it back.
Nice. Ryan's mom came up with a recipe for a health bar, so they added Bitchin bars to their product line. The company was doing really well. After just 5 years in business, they were pulling in about $2 million in annual revenue. They had opened a manufacturing facility and office in Carlsbad and were in the middle of growing the company even bigger by moving their products into stores in Northern California. But that's when the trouble hit. The problem started small. One of Ryan's brothers wanted to move to the Bay Area so he could help grow the business there. Everyone in the family agreed that it was a good idea, but there was a discrepancy over how much he should get paid. The Bay Area is expensive, so he wanted to make a little bit more so he could afford the higher rent and cost of living. Ryan says it made sense to everyone except his sister Starr. He describes it as just a dumb little disagreement over a business decision that ended up blowing up and eventually tearing the business and their family apart.
We're a family who started a business. We didn't have like a shareholders agreement and, here's your stock certificates and all this stuff. As I've told the story starting, it's like we kind of just like jumped into this. I didn't have an education. I would have done things differently. Not because I don't trust people, but just for communication purposes. And so with these disagreements, we're like, well, how do we resolve this? 2/3 of the company wants to go one direction and 1/3 of the company wants to go another direction. And then it got into, is this unanimous decisions only, or is this majority rules? And based off of just some dumb business stuff and things started getting nasty.
When we come back, how one family member took over the entire Bitchin Sauce business, and why the rest of the family ultimately chose not to fight.
Hi, podcast listeners. Please join Voice of San Diego for our next member event, the rescheduled Brews and News Member Mix-Up at 5:30 p.m. Thursday, November 9th at the Museum of Man in Balboa Park. Voice of San Diego and the Museum of Man are teaming up for an evening of civic affairs, exploring the human experience, and, of course, beer. This free event is only open to Voice of San Diego and Museum of Man members, so if you're not a member already, become one today. Events like these are just one of our member benefits. To learn more, go to voiceofsandiego.org/membership for more information.
Hey, welcome back to I Made It in San Diego. I'm Kinsey Moreland. Bitchin Sauce was a multi-million-dollar family business when things started getting tense. Ryan went on vacation in 2015, and when he came back and showed up to work at the family's facility in Carlsbad, he couldn't get in. His keys wouldn't work. He says Starr, his sister, had the locks changed while he was away. What had started as just a little disagreement over how much money to pay one of the brothers who wanted to move to the Bay Area to help Bitchin Sauce grow had officially escalated. Starr launched a full-blown legal battle to get control of the business. I reached out to Starr for her version of events, by the way, but she said she didn't want to discuss it.
My sister got an attorney to write a letter to us saying, all of the intellectual property of Bitchin Sauce is mine. I've just been allowing our company, Bitchin Sauce, to use it. And Bitchin Sauce, that product is, 97% of our revenue at that time. So she's saying that's mine. All the accounts that are connected with that are mine. All of the money with that connected with that is mine. The most honest thing she did through the process was lock the doors. That was the most honest thing that I had heard from her in the past, 3 months of going back and forth, because there was just sneaky stuff going on. And, it was like, we knew it was going to come to a head at some point, and that's what she wanted. She wanted control. She didn't like the fact that there were 2/3 owners that had majority, and she wanted control, and so she decided to take it.
And so did you try to fight back? Did you get a lawyer involved? Well, how hard did you fight to get your company back?
Oh my gosh. Well, at that time, again, this is all new to me. This is like, I haven't even heard of this. I'm thinking I'm living in a movie. This is only happening to us. Come to find out, this stuff happens.
Well, yeah, the hostile takeover. There's a term for it.
Yeah, there's a term for it. So, anyways, we were trying to figure out which direction we needed to go. It's like, man, do we get police to go, open the door and so we can continue business, because we're still the majority owners of the company, and we didn't. I just wasn't inspired to do that. In terms of hiring an attorney and all that, there's so many people saying, you need an attorney, you need to hire an attorney and do all this, go after this. And I talked to one guy who who has a big business, and he's like, well, you know what happens when you do that? He's like, the only people who win are the lawyers if you do that. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't know. It's all new to me. So what really helped me be at peace with what we did was actually seeing God's will in the situation. I am a Christian, and I base my life off of loving people and trying to do what God wants me to do. And there's a part in the Bible where it talks about, taking a brother or sister to court. And it talks about how you shouldn't do that. It's like, if you do that, not only, you lose, you're the one who's doing wrong also. And it's better to be, to have wrong done to you than to do that. And so when I read that, I was just like, well, that puts me at peace. Like, you know what? If this is the way it is, like, that's the way it is. And so we offered to do a mediation with my sister according to what we were reading in the scriptures. Like, let's do a mediation, like it says here. It says not to go to court, so let's do a mediation because it talks about how to do it. And she refused to do that. And so at that time, we were like, well, how do we just walk from it? Because I would rather do what's right by God than try to, fight for some self-preservation, of my family. I had one girl at the time. I was like, you know what, God's bigger than this. It was just super nasty. I couldn't believe it. It definitely wasn't. There was something else going on that it was like, where's my sister at?
Yeah.
So
So you lost the business.
So
your family.
We let it go.
You gave up.
We did not give up on life. We let it go, and we just, instead of doing the legal thing or bringing police to knock down the doors or something, it was like, you know what? We're going to go God's way. And, my identity is not just this business. Even though I was living the bitchin' life, I was the bitchin' guy.
You are
it's like this brand was something that I built. So it definitely was not easy. And, there was so many emotions and feelings that I had to sift through, like, what is like a sound, righteous thought versus my own emotions trying to, because people can act emotional and make not good decisions. So,
do you regret the decision to not take it to court?
Never.
At all. Not once.
No way.
So she won the business. She lost her family in the process. And you didn't give up. Instead, you started a new company. How long between the doors being locked and you launching Good Lovin' Foods?
We launched Good Lovin' Foods in October. I think the doors were locked August, or I resigned from Bitchin Sauce August 15th and walked August 15th. In October, we started our new company.
Wow, not down for long.
No, we were like, well, imagine going from, a 6-figure salary to nothing, moving out of your house with your wife and baby, moving in with your brother, and going, what are we going to do? So that's kind of extreme, circumstances surrounding it all. The same thing with the rest of my family too. My parents resigned and walked. My younger brother resigned and walked. And so it's like, what are we going to do? And we were like, well, we're really good at this. We just spent the last 5 years building this company, learning so much. I mean, that experience is worth something. The experience, the brand building, it's been huge in San Diego. And so there were things that we wanted to do to make the product even better. And there were things that we were like, we can still grab the essence of what we were doing and continue to impact people the way we were. How probably if people are listening and they know that they ever met me at a farmer's market, there was some sort of impact in a positive way. And so we wanted to continue that positive impact. And so we definitely were not down for long.
And so did you start, obviously now you have the experience, the business experience. You had to start over completely from scratch. Did you build it in a similar way? Are you out doing farmers markets again? Or you just you skipped all that part?
We skipped that part. We wanted to pick up where we left off.
So you started by going to your stores and saying, here's this product. Take this product.
Correct. Yeah. So, well, it's funny. We had all these contacts and because we were the ones out doing deliveries, doing the sales, farmers markets, all that stuff. We decided we didn't want to do the farmers market thing because then it would be like us and all out dip wars with my last company.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Dip
I'm
wars.
not doing sauce wars. There's a better way. So we wanted to pick up where we left off. Our company was going to do $2 million in revenue that year. And we were like, you know what? Where that company was going anyway was stores and reaching more people. So, and we knew a lot about the infrastructure of that. So we're like, let's just do that and go bigger. Our vision grew insane when we walked from Bitchin Sauce. It grew massive, like way massive.
It's been just 2 years since Ryan and the rest of his family launched Good Lovin' Foods, but the business took off quickly. Their new dips, which come in 3 different flavors, chipotle, lemon garlic, and cilantro lime, don't include soy like Bitchin Sauce does, and they use a lot more nuts and seeds. So Ryan says that gives the flavor more depth. They also make chips to pair with the dips, and their mom's health bars are now part of the Good Lovin' product line too. But most importantly, the biggest difference this time around is that the business is just a lot more businessy.
What we did was it's my mom, me, and my older brother, who are like larger shareholders, but we gave stocks to everybody else who walked from my last company who was promised stuff that we couldn't deliver because we walked. So we gave everybody a little chunk. We have fantastic investors, and that's basically the team. We have it's all structured correctly.
This
we
time.
have
You learned a
we have
lesson.
a team of advisors. We have a board of directors. We got
Wow.
everything that you should have with a company, and I actually have stock certificates, which is fantastic.
You learned your lesson. It was a hard lesson learned, man.
It was a hard lesson, and but it's been fantastic. We we launched Good Lovin' Foods October. We hit Whole Foods shelves the following year. I think September 1st, which is in the food world is very quick. And then we ended up getting all our Costco business and more back. And it's been growing. We have other product lines just besides our line of dips. I'm saying all the good stuff. This has not been like with the new company. It hasn't been without battles and, like everything going wrong. It's just like, oh my gosh, how can things continue to go wrong? I mean, it has been a battle, but we're growing.
What have some of those battles been?
So with my last company, we did all our own manufacturing, and the new company, manufacturing's been the largest battle for us because the manufacturer just hasn't been able to get it right with what it should be. And there's been tons of just inconsistencies in the product. So imagine launching a product, in Whole Foods having a recall with your launch in Whole Foods because the product's not up to, it was a voluntary recall, but product's not up to standard. And then imagine dealing with this like for 2 years, which is what we've been dealing with, some inconsistencies. So it's really hard, especially when you know what your product can be. It's super hard to put all this money into marketing, selling, when it's like, man, it's not exactly perfect.
Ryan and his family have gotten their Good Lovin' products into dozens of stores across California, and they're in a few other states too. I actually ran into Ryan's little brother at a Costco in Colorado not long ago. He's got bright red hair just like Ryan, and he's now the one doing the whole friendly sauce selling schtick thing. Ironically, Costco's in San Diego have yet to open the doors to Good Lovin' because Bitchin Sauce is still doing so well here. That stings, but Ryan says he'll keep pushing and keep building his family business without ever looking back and longing for the old one.
I'm just gonna keep. I say in business we're like water. We just keep flowing. Things get in our way, but we get through the little crack. We're just a force that will just keep flowing.
Have you flowed to 2 million annually yet?
Yeah, we are. I guess our first year we weren't there. This year we're there.
Congratulations.
So, and we're what, doubling every quarter. So we were on some serious growth.
Well, I know you're a good Christian, so you probably won't gloat, but that's got to feel pretty good to know that you could build a business again.
Yeah.
So quickly.
Yeah, I'm super thankful and blessed.
There's that good Christian.
No, I mean it's really awesome. It is really awesome. Just all the circumstances, and maybe we'll like write a book about it. There's even more. Just
you didn't give me your all.
Well, you want me to go into everything that we've overcome?
Yeah,
There's been some insane overcomings to, get to where we're at today. And, it really is like, couldn't have done it without God and
So that's the secret sauce of your secret sauce?
That's the secret sauce. That's why it's called Good Love. And if you look at one of the O's, it's lighter than the other. And it says God loving.
Thanks for listening to I Made It in San Diego. I wrote and produced the show, Scott Lewis edited the script, and Adam Greenfield mastered and mixed it. Visit voiceofsandiego.org/podcast to learn more about our weekly Voice of San Diego political affairs show, our Good Schools for All education podcast, the Cura Chaos show about movers and shakers on both sides of the border, Beer Talk Radio, and the rest of the shows in the VOSD podcast network. If you like the show, go to voiceofsandiego.org and click the donate button. Or if you're interested in sponsoring it, contact me at kinsey@vosd.org. That's KINSEE at VOSD.org.